I actually want to talk briefly about a project that I've been working on. So if you want to flip to, yeah. So I tried printing this out. I'm going to pass it around. My printer at home did not want the pretty pictures to be printed, but this is the cover of a new career guide that we've been working on. I've been talking to folks about it, and so it's finally coming to fruition. But essentially what we're putting together, and this is really a Vermont Forest Industry Network with our partners sort of project, and I want it to be shared by all the partners. But essentially this is targeting high school students, guidance counselors, parents, teachers, administrators of schools where kids might be interested in jobs in the woods or in a workshop or a wood shop. So I'm going to just pass this one around. Essentially what this guide does is it goes through really from tree to table the kinds of jobs that are options for kids who are interested in potentially, you know, if you want to become a forester, you want to become a logger, you don't know anything about that. This guide will talk briefly about what it is. It will talk about the starting wages. It will talk about the prospects for jobs in the future. So it's using Department of Labor data, but it's just putting it into an easy one-stop shop kind of guide. So that is very much still a draft. It's not the full product yet. We're still working on the layout. But when I have it laid out, I will probably be tapping a few of you to take a look at it. Some of you have already given it a review.
Do you want to show the table of contents?
Yeah, I mean, and again, we don't have the numbers, the numbers, but essentially we're focusing on forestry. We've got, the different types of jobs there. We've got logging, trucking, then primary processing and sawmills, and just listing out the key jobs. Not every single job, but I think we tried to highlight the jobs that are most prevalent in our area. And then secondary manufacturing, you've got all of your, whether it's construction, fine woodworking, wood manufacturing, biomass, that whole arena. So we really have tried to be as thorough as we can. We're going to be highlighting a few of the sort of emerging technologies. So whether it's in the world of mass timber and some of the things that are opening up and some of the kinds of jobs and engineering and that sort of thing that are going to be more prevalent in our region. So we're trying to include those things as hopefully, so that types of things that kids will want to get into. So anyway, that guide, my goal is to have it done hopefully this month, or well, October. And then the plan will be to market it to schools around Vermont. I will follow up with folks in the trades or other partners who might want to use it yourselves. We can talk about sort of what that might look like. If you could put your own name on it if you wanted, and use it as a marketing tool. I'm going to be doing outreach to schools. I'm going to put together a presentation that I will probably be giving, but also I would welcome others who, if you want to give it, you can just have it as a template, and you can just customize it. But if you have opportunities to talk to students, all the information will be there, and the guide itself will have a certain amount of printed. We'll also make it available for download, and yeah, that's in the works. That's coming soon.
And we'll have, and in it, it lists all of the training opportunities. So all the career tech ed centers, those kinds of things. It's for the specific occupation. So
that is that. I want to give us a few minutes to just do questions or comments.
Actually, before we go to Q&A, just because I know Marianne's got to leave momentarily, if she could do one of her, we're going to do this popcorn of additional things before we go to Q&A. That would be great, just to get, go ahead.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marianne Sheehan. I work for the Vermont Business Roundtable. We have a foundation that operates a program called the Vermont Talent Pipeline. And you've heard it mentioned a couple of times already today. The Talent Pipeline is an employer-led model for filling the skills gap. So it begins with an organization of a bunch of companies that are looking for a shared hiring need. And with that, we can identify what those jobs look like, whether it's in production or other, and identify what the top critical jobs for the industry are, what the skill sets required are. And that way, people at VTC in Northern Vermont can take that information and align their programs so that it matches your needs. We heard earlier from Maureen Hebert from VTC a little bit about apprenticeship models. We can develop apprenticeship models in any industry, and I think that this would be a really great one because students could be getting short-term credentials that would prepare them for work. You could hire them and they could go on to get a degree or an associate's degree or more. And it doesn't typically cost them anything to do that. I mean, we have like a lot of funding for apprenticeship programs for a sustainable future. We're actually building in programs like loan repayment that keep people in their jobs if you're willing to pay back a short-term loan for a person who is working for you. So there are some really good and creative things going on. I'm going to mention that Jay Ramsey, he mentioned manufacturing production and also some construction management programs that are going on in the CTEs. Both of those programs have some overlap to this industry. So like in manufacturing production, there's elements of safety, processes, quality, and efficiency. And in the construction management program, which is in every CTE, they have different pieces that also include safety, construction math, hand tools, power tools, blueprint reading, things like that. So those are really good places to begin looking. You know, we're constantly working with employers to ask what the needs are and align those programs in the CTEs and also in Vermont State College system so that we're getting exactly what we need and you can hire direct from that pipeline.
Thank you. Great.
All right, so,
Want to do Q&A or do you want to?
let's do a quick Q&A, and then I do want to get to the third part where, because I know there are some people in the room who have other kinds of programs or projects that would be relevant, and I want to, you know, make sure we talk about what those are. But are there any questions about what you heard from this panel that you want to put out there? Jen?
A question to Ann and Jared. So is your cohort of 8 to 10, do they need to be based in your region, or can they be a virtual participant or a commuting participant?
This will be open to a national audience.
Any other questions? And I don't know, do we have, are there any on the online?
Anybody online have questions? Yeah.
I have one, just thinking about apprenticeships in the logging field and with the pipelines and stuff, seems like the stumbling block is one, safety, you know, hazards of, also like workers' comp, it's like, am I correct in hearing there's money available for business to about workers' comp on these interns, or how? Sorry.
Okay. So Dave's asking about whether these programs, any of them would cover workers' comp insurance on these workers who are going through an apprenticeship program or a.
Let's ask Maureen, because she does the apprenticeships in all.
Yeah. There's Maureen. Go ahead, Maureen.
Yeah, I'm here. The idea behind apprenticeship is that you hire the individual, so they'd be under your insurance, they'd be your employee, but it's a learn and earn model where you're paying them, releasing them for time for the training component, and then doing the on-the-job training component with them in their facility. So that would be covered by the employer. With work-based learning, which is more of like the high school CTE thing, I refer to Jay on that one.
Maureen, you cut out just a little bit. Jay, why don't you go and we'll go back to Maureen.
So with some of the experiences, so I mentioned job shadow, those are just things where, you know, students get to see what a job looks like and follow someone around for maybe 4 hours. For the tech centers, they do co-op experiences, which might be paid, they could be unpaid, but they fall under the tech center's insurance, liability insurance. So that's where the the protection for that individual comes. And you'd have to work with the work-based learning coordinator or the co-op coordinator at the tech center to arrange that, come up with a training plan, kind of document what it is the student's going to learn, and who they're going to be working with, who's going to supervise them while they're doing it.
Great.
Any other questions? Please. All right, so I want to shift gears now because we've had a lot of information kind of put forward, but I know that there's probably things that we haven't touched on. So I want to start out, I guess, by asking for folks in the room or online, is there a program or a project out there or a school, I'm looking at you, Kat, in the back, that is offering something related to education, training, workforce development in our sector that we want to make sure we're capturing, like, hey, this exists out here and people need to know about it. So I might just put, Kat, you on the spot just for a second, and if you can use the speaker just to share, you know, what Vermont Woodworking School is offering, and then I'll open it up to others.
Yeah, so I'm Kat. I'm the director of the Vermont Woodworking School. We're actually a partner institution to NVU. We work with NVU Johnson, so you can get your associate's degree or your bachelor's degree in fine woodworking, or you can come directly to us. We also have like a full-time immersion program where students can learn everything they would ever need to know about fine woodworking. And I think what makes us a little bit different is we're almost, I think people almost, we talk about this a lot with the Woodworks Council, and it gets almost overqualified. We're so specific and niche in what we're doing that I feel like I would love to hear more about how we can better serve Vermont employers, but also with the kind of knowledge that we are a furniture making school. So it's kind of this push and pull between like what do employers need, but also what we don't want to like take away from the academic experience of learning every single thing about woodworking. So that's something for me that I'd like to kind of get a handle on, and how we can best serve the woodworking community, woodworking community. Yeah.
Thank you. I added you to this circle here because you weren't there. So now you are. So.
Oh, yay.
There are a couple of other, I'll put them out there. So I invited the folks at Yes Tomorrow. There's a, you know, construction design build training facility down in Wakefield. They weren't able to make it, but that's another, you know, potential resource for some portion of training on construction anyway. Let's just kind of open it up. Like, what else is out there that we haven't touched on here? Jen, I'm seeing you.
Is the Hatch Space in there?
Oh, I don't think it is. Yeah, Hatch Space is a brand new space down in Brattleboro that is also woodworking. What are they? They're
Makerspace.
Yeah.
So like STEAM classes, women-centered classes, all full range.
Yeah, they have a great setup for anyone down there. If you didn't have your own equipment, they've got equipment you can use, and they offer classes. And they will, I think, soon have a gallery. So it could be a really cool spot for woodworkers down in the Brattleboro area.
And Christine, there are two of those in Rutland County. There's the Mint in Rutland, and there's another makerspace in Bolton, and they both have woodworking shops.
So what were they called?
The Mint
The Mint.
is in Rutland, and I don't remember the name of the one in Bolton, but it has a woodworking shop. There's a young man who worked for Bob Gasparetti who runs that, and he is training woodworkers. Mm-hmm.
And I just want to also call attention to the fact that the Vermont Correctional Industries exists. And up in Newport, they make amazing furniture. And so as people get released from prison, they may have woodworking skills, desks and cabinets and chairs and institutional furniture. They've got a CNC machine up there, I think. And I mean, it's pretty decked out in terms of what they make, signs. So in one of the things that, so you might be worth just sort of checking in on what it is that they do. And then, sorry, I'm going in and out here, but oops, that's the problem with this. There is a organization called Working Fields that supports people coming out of prison, out of incarceration, and helping them to find jobs, to find housing, to find the support system that they need to not reoffend. So again, if there were some people coming out of the Newport facility that had woodworking and then they got into Working Fields, you might find some folks through the Working Fields program and ask specifically about folks that have some woodworking skills who've been formerly incarcerated. So that's another avenue for pipeline.
I don't know if the LEAP program into this.
Absolutely.
You know, the Logger Ed Advanced Professionalism Program or a small C certification program for loggers, requiring, some mills require them to be certified. But, you know, we've talked a lot with a bunch of the tech schools and trying to get kids to come out of the natural resource forestry program. Credential, but certainly open to whatever. Currently, it's mostly just loggers and forest.
And so I'm going to put it over here. That's a non-degree license. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
So I'm going to stick that over here under non-degree credentials. Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay. I'm gonna stick it to a certification over here. So I'm going to attach that to the certification bubble that we've got over here. So what I've done, just you may have caught on already, was we pre-populated. I made existing things that we know about dark green, just so that we can sort of, in the process of seeing where the gaps might be, being able to visually see, oh, well, where does the forest products industry show up on this map in terms of programs? So we're adding to it down below with some of the yes or tomorrow, the hatch spaces. We'll figure out exactly where they should fit on this map, but just FYI, that's what I'm doing, in case you were wondering or getting nauseous from watching.
Right, is there anybody online, or if folks online, since we can't totally see everybody online from the room, but raise your hand online or put in the chat if you know of a program or a project that you think would be relevant for us to include in kind of all these resources that exist, or if you're thinking there's a big gap here, and I would open that question to the room. I mean, so far, what have we not seen that really needs to be, whether it's a project or a program or just an issue?
Well, I know John Young is on from the training program, and I'm not sure how many employers have taken advantage of that funding stream to help with training. But John, do you want to speak to it? Because you are on the map here as part of the outsourced employer-driven training community.
Sure, thanks.
And we got Maureen also has raised her hand.
So I direct, it's called the Vermont Training Program. It's each year I get $1.3 million of state tax dollars. And even the governor calls it the Vermont Training Program Fund. So it's a series of grants that we partner with employers and training providers to help them train their incumbent and new employees. We're open to all sectors. We certainly have done many grants. I just wrote down a few. Mentioned that Built by Newport. That was a project that we helped fund. We've worked with New England Woodcraft, with Soundview Paper, Timber Homes, Maple Landmark Woodcraft, Green State Biochar, Helm Construction. So a number of businesses in your sector that we've helped with. So it is a grant process. There's an application that needs to be done. If you were to Google Vermont Training Program, you can see our page under the Department of Economic Development, which is in the Agency of Commerce and Community Development. So on average, I meet with over 150, sometimes close to 200 businesses in a year. And our total program has 1.5 people in it to assist. But more than happy to, continue our partner. We partner with Vermont Sustainable Jobs Fund, with VTC, adult tech centers as well.
So we'll get him.
Ellen, you're muted.
Okay. Maureen?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear you. Sorry. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Now.
Okay. So I wanted to mention Job Corps, the Northlands Job Corps, which is based out of Virgins. They often have students that are coming from out of state to Vermont to get training in a safe environment. It's a great resource. I believe they have a forestry program, but it might be something to add to that, as well as resource.
Yeah, we do have resource on here, and I'll make them green.
Job Corps has an extensive harvest program. Yes, you do. Yeah. So.
Great.
I guess I'd throw it with Northeast Woodland Training, with the chainsaw safety training.
Yep.
Northlands, is it called? Northeast.
Land training.
Northeast.
Chainsaw training.
Oh, right.
But we already are working with all the tech schools, Jazz, Molly, and certainly any other.
Ellen, I just want to mention, and I don't believe it's the same as the Vermont Correctional Industries, but it's Community High School of Vermont. So, regionally, they do have a number of tech type programs as well. And so I think, a great reference to, or a great opportunity for a lot of employers to plug into getting some of these, younger folks that have potentially made a mistake or two, to get them right out of community high school is always a great idea.
Thank you, John.
Is that regular high school, community high school, or?
There's a question in the room, John, about what a community high school is.
So community high school is a high school for corrections of anybody who's incarcerated that don't have their GED or their high school diploma. So a couple years ago, believe it or not, it was the largest high school by population in the state of Vermont.
Oh. All right, we need to get those on the list.
So it's the Vermont High School? So it's called?
It's called, it used to be called Community High School. So it's actually, a GED and high school, it's actually a high school diploma for anyone incarcerated that does not have their diploma or GED.
Great,
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good one. I think Ryan McLaren.
Hey folks, Ryan McLaren. I work for Congressman Welch, and this is not necessarily a tomorrow solution, so bear with me. But in the conversation that's happening right now in Washington around are the Build Back Better plan. Included in that as part of the climate resilience effort is a climate conservation corps modeled very much after a civilian conservation corps. And the details are, we're standing up a new federal program, so it will take a while to know exactly what that looks like, but it's envisioned as something that you might recognize, doing work on national park land, U.S. Forest Service land, to do trail work, fire mitigation, things that could easily prepare folks for a career in the forest industry. And certainly the goal is to have those folks, young folks, led into the industry.
Great. Thank you. All right, Kathleen, you were gonna say that there is, and maybe come up here just again, because now this is working and the remote audio is not. So maybe if you could just come up here. So if you were to get this earmark, what will you guys be doing? Just go right there.
Right there, I'll sit right here. Is that okay?
Perfect.
So, what we will be doing is trying to better understand the scope of jobs and skills that are required in the secondary manufacturing sector. It is truly so diverse. There's never one size fits all solution. You know, every business has some difference in what it needs, and it's changing constantly as the landscape changes and as technology changes. So we will be visiting with every business to understand who are you hiring, what do they need to know how to do, where do they learn these skills, how long will it take for them to get those skills, what's the rate of pay that they can expect, so that we really understand very broadly what the jobs are that are needed within this sector. And then to build that into a portal of, you know, careers in woodworking, that schools, that potential youth or employees can access to understand what kind of jobs are available there, to really build something that works for the sector, and to create some in-shop internships for students to spend a few weeks in a wood shop. I know Kat wants to set up a summer internship. You know, it's almost not enough to spend 2 weeks. What does it take to really learn if you like this and want to pursue this as a career? So we're looking at a lot of different models to get people in those wood shops, get familiar with the jobs, and figure out if there is something here that they want to do as a career. And this is a legacy industry. We have world-class craftspeople who are turning out products that compete on the world stage. These are really great jobs for young people, and they don't know that. So you're really...
So it's kind of a workforce needs assessment for the secondary manufacturing industry to start. Mm-hmm. And then, so it sounds like there's actually some opportunity with what Mary Ann Sheehan was talking about, the talent pipeline management, because they actually have a process of doing just that. So partnering with them might be a great way.
Yeah, I was interested to hear what she said. I mean, I have to tell you, I sat here today and heard a lot of things that are really well-kept secrets.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we need to do better about sharing that information, sharing those resources so everybody knows what's available.
Yes. Yes. Okay. And yes.
Pointed enough?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
So what else? What are some other, progress?
Well, I'm just curious if anybody in the room or on the call has any information to share, experience with new Americans, migrant workers like with ag. I'm just curious, anything to share?
There is nothing equivalent to ag, and that's been a question that keeps getting brought up, and it is a very complex. It would take a federal act to do it because the H-2A program, the H-2B program, all of those things are federally designated pathways. And in the case of H-2A workers, those are seasonal employees. Those are not permanent. Anybody that is currently considered a migrant worker who's on a dairy farm, for instance, many of them do not have green cards. Many of them are undocumented. So I don't think you want to go there either in the industry. So there really isn't an equivalent. And so it would take the industry coming together to say, this is a specialized program that we want. I think the only other thing that would be worth, maybe the congressional delegation can look into this is there are those, from an immigration reform perspective, there are those certain types of jobs that are high skilled jobs that tend to be preferred in terms of being able to come to this country to work. you know, like they tend to be in the technology industries, right? So again, it's, you know, there's so much wrong with our immigration policy, and we are so behind in that. So some of these are these larger macro level issues, and so I don't know if the Forest Parks and Rec Department and whether the Agency of Commerce have spent time talking to the congressional delegation about these issues, immigration reform, specifically for the forest and wood products industry. But if not, that may be a place to start having those conversations. It's no quick fix, but yeah, that's what I can tell you.
I think I triggered something there.
Well, no, it's. I mean, this is the challenge, right? We're always talking about, well, let's get the immigrants in. But after 4 years of the previous administration, all of that shut down. So it's like the chickens have come home to roost. There's not enough people coming to this country who want to work that can get in. So we're just facing some of these structural challenges. Oops, Ryan, did you have another thought to say on my?
I just think you're absolutely right.
soapbox?
You're absolutely right. Like, to your point, like about like any industry that has relied on foreign workers, both in the previous administration and also during the pandemic, is like struggling as hard as anyone to find folks. So it's, you know, I couldn't agree more that like we need to have a more rational immigration system that, you know, doesn't define skilled workers as only like people that work in the tech field, and also makes it functional for, you know, both agriculture and forest products is like the forest industries is a new one. That's not a conversation we've had too much of, but yeah, that's a long-term fix, and we're certainly something like on board with exactly what you said, Helen. But you know, if had like, say you could get an H-2A visa to work in the forest industries, you would still be struggling to have people here on the ground right now. Like some people get H-2A visas for pumpkin growing, and like they can't get workers, and so they're in a similar boat.
Tom Derry, did you want to jump in?
Not too much to add there. I would say that there is pending immigration legislation that has been around for some time and has progressed in the House that, you know, the shorthand is blue card, that current ag workers who may be undocumented would be able to stay and continue working in agriculture, but then get a blue card, which would allow them to work in other industries as well. And so there is a model. It's being considered now by the Judiciary Committee in the Senate, and I believe it has advanced significantly in the House. So the possibility is there that there could be legislative reform that would give documentation and portability to a number of the workers that are now in agriculture in this country.
Thanks. Mike Rainville.
Yeah, if you're talking about federal things, there's one that's bugged me for a long time, and that's that as a wood products manufacturer, I'm not allowed to have people working here that are under 18. And I'm not advocating for child labor, but you know, how do kids get to know what the workplace is if they don't get a chance to experience it in some fashion? We get inquiries all the time about kids working for the summer, and we just have to turn them away. And the issue is that we're considered a high hazard workplace. I have less than 20% of my staff ever comes anywhere near a sharp spinning object. Most of our jobs here are safer than working at McDonald's and higher tech than that. So I just lay that out there as a real frustration that, you know, sometimes I'm able to get high school kids to tour through in their shop programs. And we do actually have kids that help under special programs where they're supervised by the school. But usually those are students under in special programs and things like that. Not your average graduates, or you know, and it's just there's just no way to establish any kind of connection to the kids. I mean, yeah, we can go to the tech centers. That's not as easy as it sounds. I mean, there's no match there for what we need people to be doing. So.
Great, thanks, Mike. Good points. So any other questions? We're at the final 10 minutes. Do we want to talk next steps or take a couple more thoughts here?
I mean, does anybody else have another thought that they want to put out there? Because you know, part of this is we just want to collect what people know, or if there are questions about what people don't know, we want to know what that is as well, so we can delve into it. Anything that comes to mind? Chris Lindgren, do you have your hand raised? I can't. Oh, that's a hand raised?
No.
No? All right, just a weird hand.
Oh, yep, John Young, go ahead.
Sure, if I could just add, can you hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. You know, traveling the state and working in a number of sectors, and I think we work so hard on trying to do a better job with educating our youth on what's out there career-wise, and I think there is appears to be some movement on that. But I think what we're not doing well in just about every sector, in my opinion, is we're not educating the parents. And very rarely do kids listen to parents, but they certainly will listen to their parents when their parents say there's no good jobs in Vermont. So I think, you know, I think statewide, right, whatever we can do in the Department of Economic Development, but I think sector-wise and especially regional, right? Vermont's a state of regions, and what goes well in Bennington County is not going to always do well up in Essex County or a different area in Vermont. So I think, you know, we need, in my opinion, better marketing campaigns for a workforce on a regional basis that's going to get to that adult, the adult segment of our community, to let them know that there's lots of opportunity for their children to stay and work in Vermont. And I think I'm not guaranteeing that that'll be a plus, but it's something I think all sectors just aren't doing well currently.
Any other, Jen?
Just gonna throw in there from kind of the RDC perspective that what you were mentioning about all these different small woodworkers and kind of like world-class entities. A lot of them are sole proprietors. They're self-employed. They're really small businesses. And so one of the really important sets of work. And so, we incubate a lot of businesses at CDCC. We have a lot of real estate. And, we have multiple wood product sector businesses, ranging from like Vermont Island, which is a big, incredible thing, to one-person wood shop. And so I think that perspective is really important, that a lot of the, kids that we're going to need to talk to, also, they're going to need entrepreneurial skills. They're going to need basic business skills, or at least kind of some sense of where to get them when they're ready for those. Because we've already been through a big consolidation in this sector too, and we're looking at ongoing consolidation or loss of entities because of succession planning issues. So, the plug there is just, please think about the RDCs, think about, the Vermont SBDC, and, that and entrepreneurial and business skills as kind of part of this set of concerns. Yeah.
Great point. Good.
So I think then, to wrap up, I'd like to maybe ask if anyone has any key takeaways from what you've heard. I know there's been a lot today, a lot that we learned about, talked about, but I would just put it in the room. What, just a few of you, what was your key takeaway from today? What would you like to see happen next, aside from sharing all these resources? Online, come on, there's got to be somebody out there who has a big takeaway from what you've heard today.
So Jen was saying stories. So, we have this whole, articles that Christine and Emily Bradbury put together. is there a particular story that you're thinking of?
I think to John's point, stories like about like kind of kids, something that really helps connect parents to this, and the potential here.
Yeah.
I will say, and I don't think I mentioned it, as part of putting together the guide, the Forest County Career Guide, we will have a short, probably minute-long video that will accompany the presentation that we're going to put together. And so that video, again, I will make that available to anybody who wants to use it for promotional. It's going to feature cool people like Kat in the back, who's a furniture maker, and Trevor Allard, I think, at Allard Lumber, and Charlie Hancock, who's a forester, and just them talking about how cool it is to do what they do. So I'm hoping that will, that could be one, but that's just one little thing. Maybe we could do more of that,
Yeah, to piggyback on that, we're working through the MBRC grant. We put a bunch of funds together where they are doing a video. So they're doing a full video of UNH, BTC, UVM, and the work crews. And then that will be housed on a website that then goes off into these different educational components or pathways from that particular grant. But it could be great to have that be like more of a state initiative where there was access to all the different sort of sectors within the forest and wood products industry that told stories, because that's definitely what kids are going to go towards, and then you could also.
I don't know if this, but it kind of goes back to what we discussed earlier, since we learned so much about what hard skills training is available for students and adults, but almost like the soft skills, what it takes, or like what it takes to live in Vermont or be a part of the rural economy. So kind of, and that could be something like stories of like, here's how people actually, if you're considering moving here from other places, here's how you can actually live in a rural place or rural-ish. This all to me seems super rural. So like, I think just that more like human component of like, if you're looking for workers, how do you support workers if you're in a more remote location? Maybe that's like cultivating more of a community for your younger workers, or helping them find housing and recognizing there's challenges, bringing people out of cities or out of even more populated sprawl areas. So,
John Young has his hand up one more time.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John.
Sure, I'm guessing Mary Ann's not in the room because Vermont Talent Pipeline Management partnered with construction trades, and they did a very informative piece. I don't know if it's on the Vermont Talent Pipeline Management, but it was really exploring construction trades. And it was, at a fairly basic, that might be a starter look too, to see what they created, and think about something like that for your sector.
Yeah, thanks, John. Yep. And Mary Ann did give a little pop-up about her program you may have missed, but she didn't actually, I think, really call out the fact that she has already done construction as well as general manufacturing. So
maybe there's an opportunity for them to really focus in on our industry.
Great.
Cool. All right. Well, I think what we're gonna. Jeff Tilley, is that a hand raise or is that just I don't know what the hand is.
No. It's, no, that's me. No. That's this. This is yeah.
Anyway, all right. So thank you all for being part of this. I guess my takeaway is there are actually a lot of resources out there, and I think somebody, maybe Kathleen said, I think they're kind of best kept secret. So one thing we certainly are going to do is we're going to share these resources, and for those of you who are with trade organizations or others who can also share, we really want to make sure that businesses in the sector writ large get all this information. So we'll put it together in a digestible form, send it out, and then we would just encourage everyone to share what we've put together. And then I know, so next week, the Vermont Forest Industry Network Steering Committee is going to be meeting. I'd like, this will be on our agenda. So for those of you who are part of that, I would like us to talk about, okay, now what? Is there something else that could be done? Are there some gaps that need filling? Are there connections that we can help facilitate as a network? So we're going to talk about that. But please feel free to email me with any other ideas about what you think from a workforce development standpoint, what we could be doing as a industry, as a collection of people in the industry, what could we be doing more of? to help the state, and our federal partners. So please just email your thoughts to me, and we will take all of that and see what comes of it. So, Dave.
Did you say you'll be sending out,
Yeah, and I think what we're not quite ready to share out the mural map yet, but once we do, one of the things that came up for me is we could easily embed links with all of those circles so that you could then go look at them. But it's still very much in development, but we're getting close, and it was really great to get to be able to showcase it today. I think it's going to be a useful tool for the legislature and for our state partners to just help us think about it, because the system was built for a time and a place when we had plenty of workers. And so the map, those diagrams reflect that. And as Tristan and I said earlier, we're in a different place now, and we are going to be for the foreseeable future. So we need to take a fresh look at the system and say, how do we adapt it to our current state?
Thank you. Those of you online who stuck with us, sorry for some of the technical issues, but that's just the world we live in. And for those of you in the room, thanks so much for being here. And like I said, I believe Bolton said that the Tavern across the way is open for business. So if you want to stick around for a few minutes and have a glass of something, you're welcome. And enjoy the gorgeous view. And I don't know, Mike Snyder, when's peak's going to happen? That's the big question in the room.
Peak is where you find it. Find your peak in Vermont.
Excellent. Well, it's happening almost right here in Bolton. So thanks again, everyone, and we will be in touch. Have a great day.